Thank you. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back, and I just want to say we're always glad to see you here at this subcommittee. Now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Dr. Burgess, for his 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And representing one of those flatland areas that you talked about, we have a different problem in that many of our communities are located long distances from each other. While we don't have to traverse a mountain range or look for a mountain tunnel, we might have miles and miles of Texas to get across to get from one location to the other. I was concerned when Mr. Griffith was talking about the football team taking the electric bus to an away game. A lot of those games are going to be played during late fall and early winter. And I don't know if the buses work as well in cold temperatures or if the battery life is affected by cold temperatures. I suspect that it is. So is there a safety issue that we need to be concerned about with a busload of kids on a bus that now can't make it back from points unknown in a very cold environment where they can't keep the heater on because the battery's dead?
Thank you. And as a proud graduate of Texas A&M University, though last Saturday was tough, I understand the love of football and the importance of it in our discussion here.
Let me interrupt you there for just a minute. But the Horns won. They beat Alabama. I yield back.
You're doubling down on the bad. I think that this is one of those factors that goes into that Congress that you all specifically put into consideration, which is those local conditions. And the statute does say the weather, the bus route, and the likes. And so we're going to make sure that the EPA considered these things in reviewing the applications. These are the criteria that Congress expressed and how these dollars would be spent.
Well, I will tell you, I don't think many of these grants or rebates have been awarded in the state of Texas. I've got to do my own due diligence and find out why that is. And I may get back to you with a question in writing in that regard. But I have to admit, you jogged my memory when you talked about putting the school bus engine to rest. And the YouTube video of the Volvo that wouldn't die came flooding back to me. If you remember the Cash for Clunkers program, the dealer was required to demonstrate to get the money that they had, in fact, irreparably harmed that engine so it would never function again. And then the little Volvo that could, they drained the oil out, they put the liquid glass in, and the damn thing wouldn't stop. I mean, it just kept chugging away. Is that what you're talking about with these school buses?
Partly. I think there's that aspect of the destruction of the older diesel school buses, and then with respect to the ones from 2011 and to us, whether those are being appropriately handled. I don't think double dipping is allowed. You can't replace the same bus twice, and we will work with the EPA to make sure that they're not being defrauded in that regard.
But when in part of your answer to one of Mr. Griffith's questions, Chair Griffith's questions was he was concerned about, I think, that aspect of double dipping. But when you sell a school bus to another school district, you haven't done anything to reduce the emissions then. You've just simply expended money to have an electric bus in a new district, but the old district or the district uses the old bus is going to then continue with whatever emissions problems were going on previously. Is that not correct?
That's what I understand, yes.
But in any case, you are going to, is this already occurring where they're poisoning older buses with liquid glass? I mean,
so this is a carryover of the DARA program, which replaced dirty diesel in general, but 40% of that went to school buses, and so there's some experience in retiring these older buses, and I should say the scope of that is we're talking tens of millions of dollars, and now we're talking billions of dollars. So the EPA really has this work cut out for it, and making sure that the school buses are being retired appropriately.
Now, you mentioned in your written testimony, and I apologize for having to be back and forth with another hearing that we've got going on about the rebates and the fact that that's an unusual or a different type of arrangement than has previously been entered into. Are you finding now with transitioning to grants, which my understanding is that that is going on, are you finding that that is more auditable to be able to look at those grants?
The grants, awarded grants will of course be done consistent with the uniform grant guidance and other requirements. The rebates do not. Rebates are the riskiest way to distribute money. And so that, for us, when we, the EPA has made a decision to use rebates in the first round, possibly use in the third round. That's their decision. Our, of course, role is to make sure that they're not being defrauded in issuing. The EPA also has a mission in that as well. But, yes, just to short answer, obviously, rebates would give any Inspector General discomfort.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I just have to say, in Texas, we've had a pretty hot summer. School already started at the early part of September with still 110-degree days. The problem we encountered, lots of solar energy was being generated, which is a good thing. But then people get home and the sun goes down, they crank up the AC, and the grid got into trouble. If we plug in a bunch of school buses when after the evening run, I mean, that's going to be a problem too, is additional strain on the grid. I hope someone is looking at that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Now recognize Dr. Ruiz for his 5 minutes.